If you find yourself in any of the larger Lithuanian cities, you might eventually run into some old, bland, dull, gray apartment buildings. Built from the 1950s to the early 1990s, these apartments and residential towers have come to symbolize the late Soviet occupation period of Lithuania. This style of architecture was common throughout much of the Soviet Union, from Poland to Romania to Kazakhstan. Lithuania, of course, was no exception. This explains why Fabianiškės, a neighborhood of Vilnius, was used in the HBO miniseries Chernobyl to depict the Ukrainian town of Pripyat. Jonas Špokas, head of the company that managed the filming locations for the TV series, says that the Vilnius neighborhood was chosen because it quite wonderfully reflected the idea of Pripyat, an idealized Soviet city of the future. The forms are aggressive, there's a lot of concrete and grayness, he said. According to TrueLithuania.com, this architectural era began in 1955, when all quote-unquote unnecessary architectural details were forbidden. Between the 1960s and 1980s, rapid urbanization led to the rise of micro-districts, or sleeping districts, established outside of the main city centers. This wasn't just limited to Lithuania, and is, in fact, something you'll see in most cities that were once under the control of the Soviet Union. The idea of homogeneous Soviet architecture was even the basis of the iconic 1976 Russian romantic comedy, The Irony of Fate. The storyline stems from a mistake caused by identical-looking neighborhoods, streets, and apartments. My explanation doesn't really do it justice, so I'd either recommend that you watch it yourself, or check out City Beautiful's video on Soviet urban planning. Anyways, back to Lithuania. These neighborhoods typically consist of multi-story apartment blocks surrounding large open spaces. Across the Soviet Union, apartment layouts were standardized and quite compact. TrueLithuania.com notes that there wasn't more than 9 square meters of living space per person. Additionally, kitchens couldn't be larger than 6 square meters, and bathrooms weren't larger than 3.5 square meters. Meanwhile, the elevators of these buildings were often quite small and claustrophobic. Recent years have seen a housing construction boom across Lithuania. With so many properties on the market, the old Soviet-era apartments might look attractive from the perspective of price. However, don't be fooled. These old apartments tend to be incredibly inefficient when it comes to heating, and can get quite cold in the winter. As a result, staying warm in one of these buildings can cost you a lot of money. Checking apartment listings with energy information, we found that one 66 square meter apartment built in 1987 cost an average of 110 euros per month for heating. This is much more than a newer 69 square meter building built in 2012. This newer property costs an average of just 25 euros per month in heating expenses. While I appreciate the high density layout of these apartment blocks, most would agree that these neighborhoods are quite bleak and depressing, especially during the darker, colder months of the year. With Lithuania's ongoing construction craze and the modern architecture that comes with it, the distinctive Soviet-era apartment buildings will increasingly become a smaller portion of the country's housing supply. Whether that's something to be happy about is up to you. So what do you think about these apartment blocks? Do you like them? Or would you be happy to see these replaced? Share your opinion and experiences by leaving a comment below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.